me see. It's not.
That's a good one. What was that? Blues Clues?
Oh, let me tell you about this. So, Jordan was a Blues Clues fanatic. So he came down the steps and he saw that chair. He was like, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, my man Santa Claus. And he sat in that chair. He sat in that chair all day. He loved Blues Clues.
So this is the athlete here, all these little pictures. He was always a good kid. I mean, always a good kid. I always wanted to kind of keep him involved in sports just because I knew really like sports was like the social nutrition that I think all young people should have.
Yeah, the first time I met Jordan was at baseball practice growing up at Little League. Our coach had brought us all together today. We've got a new teammate today. Everybody meet Jordan, and there's Jordan. He was a little bit younger than the rest of us, and he played with us for that season. But Jordan wasn't really a baseball guy. Right? Jordan would go hang out in the outfield and play around with the grass and whatnot. I think I remember him getting hit in the eye once, maybe. Baseball was short-lived for Jordan, but I came to find out that season Jordan lived down the street from me as well. So we lived down the street, went to the same elementary school. And so I kind of got to know him through that, just kind of kids on the same street, playing outside, things like that.
I remember him playing like flag football when he was a kid, and I was the typical dad on the sidelines, thinking he was going to be the next superstar or whatever the case may be. So, we really played like football, then we went to baseball, and then we went to basketball. We always kept him involved, and that was really one of my main things. And I knew that whatever it was, like he would excel once he got it.
When I went to high school, I went to McDonough. And my junior year, my sophomore year actually, my coach at McDonough said, "Hey, we have a student and a family coming to Accepted Students Day that we want you to meet." I go down to Accepted Students Day, and there's Jordan, Marty, and Tanya are, and I talk to them, tell them how McDonough is the greatest place I've ever been. I love it. It's a great choice for Jordan. Next year, turns around to see Jordan as a freshman there at McDonough.
So, we went from playing sports when he was young, and it just kind of evolved to, him being where he was at or getting to where he was at as a highly recruited football player across the nation.
9th grade, he was already offered 3-4 ride offers in the 9th grade: Ohio State, Maryland, and Penn State. And then 11th grade, I think we got about 500 pieces of mail in his first day of starting 11th grade. The mail lady, she had to knock on the door because she couldn't get any more mail in the mailbox. She was like, "You must have a superstar that live here. Look at all this mail." So she handed me the mail, and ever since that day, we had thousands of pieces of mail from colleges all over the country.
And then I had almost a deja vu moment, right, where when I was at Maryland, my coach said, "Hey, we have a recruit here, and I think you may know each other. Can you go talk to him?" I go down, there's Marty and Tanya there at Maryland.
Signing day, he chose Maryland. He loved Maryland.
I was at my mom's, got a call, and it was a campus police officer. And he said, Jordan, there's been an incident on the field. Jordan had a seizure, the day of practice. And I'm like, and we're at Washington Adventist Hospital.
And then I was like, a seizure? And I'm thinking, like, what could have caused? Because in 19 years, Jordan has never been sick. Not healthy as I don't know what. We get to the hospital and we see him they put him in an induced coma. And when we got there, he was in a cooling bag. Because they said when the ambulance got to him at the school, his temperature was 106 degrees.
Nobody was really saying anything in regards to heat stroke or heat-related injury as of yet. So again, you're just thinking, okay, he'll be okay. He'll get through this.
Early Wednesday morning, they flew him to Maryland Shock Trauma. And time he got there, it was like, they worked on him. And he was on every machine that will give you life. He was on a breather machine, life support machine, an ECMO machine, which is, for your lungs and 2 dialysis machines. Wednesday, they were saying that, Jordan liver was severely damaged and he would need a liver transplant within the next 12 hours or he was just going to pass away.
We had the liver transplant that Friday. And once we had that, like literally time stood still.
So when we left there that evening on the 12th, we was all sitting around just laughing at the things that Jordan used to do. And it was like a calm, a peace. It was peace that came over us. I think maybe like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning on the 13th. That's when get a call and tell everybody to come to the hospital because he wasn't gonna make it. He was brain dead. So we had to make a choice. There was nothing left for him, and we just made a choice. Just to let him go. So, and that was at 11:26 a.m. on the 13th. Hugged him, kissed him. And that was it.
When the coaches were at our table, what did we miss? Like, what questions didn't we ask? Then when I'm looking at all the other kids that died from heat stroke, I'm really like, what the hell did we missed something? And I kept saying, if we don't know these things, how many other parents in America don't know these things? I always thought that they would have protected our son. Anything can happen when you're not prepared.
And the strength and conditioning coach has resigned. Rick Court, he resigned. The head coach, DJ Durkin, he's on administrative leave. Do you guys think he should resign as well?
Yes, absolutely. He shouldn't be able to work with anybody else's kid. You don't send your kid away to college, Michael. You send your kid away to college for them to be developed into young people, and that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, and just teach these people, teach our young kids or our young people that we work so hard to get there to, hey, I'm giving my child to you. Keep him safe. And they did anything but that. So of course he should be fired.
Breaking news tonight as the University of Maryland has announced that it has fired head football coach DJ Durkin.
1 week after University of Maryland President Wallace Loh fired head football coach DJ Durkin, 2 athletic trainers lose their jobs. Head football trainer Wes Robinson and assistant trainer Steve Nordwall were directly involved with the improper treatment of Jordan McNair the day he suffered heat stroke in May.
I think 3 days after, I came up with the concept of the foundation.
Jordan's dad came up with, he was the visionary in it.
So our mission is really the promotion and awareness of awareness, education, and the prevention of heat-related injuries, and also to diminish the deaths of heat-related injuries, right?
And the other kid was at Morgan. I think in Marquise Meadows. I think his happened in 2014. And I met his mom, and she told us, she sued the state or what have you, and she said she felt as though that she didn't have a voice, and nobody was listening to her. And I was like, wow. I was like, well, we are the voice now.
So we'll go up to the 3rd floor, meet with Delegate Ebersol.
Yep.
He's on the Education Subcommittee.
Perfect.
Where the bill was heard.
This is a bill that we have been working on, obviously, for a couple of years that have been passed around. And on his untimely death in October really just kind of made it relevant in regards to, guess what, here's another example of when emergency action plans aren't practiced consistently. This is what it looks like from a personal perspective. So that's how we got here. Actually, very, very interesting story with Wes and our family. So Wes was on the field that day, right? And for the longest time, for 3 years, we blamed Wes. And then we had gotten to a point where our faith had kicked in and it was realized that, Wes wasn't responsible for Jordan's death.
After a while, once he reached out to me, he was the scapegoat, I think, for what went down at Maryland. And at the end of the day, no one shows up to work and wants to kill your child. So, it took me a minute, and, I believe in God and forgiveness and prayed about it. And it wasn't hard after I prayed about it and understood what really, really happened. So it wasn't too hard for me. I felt bad for him because he carried that burden for 3 years, 3.5 years.
I'm the past president of the Maryland Athletic Trainers Association, but also personally, obviously, I'm deeply involved with this to make sure that we legislate these things, that we don't leave these up to chance, we don't leave these situations up to individuals in the field that may not be skilled enough to take care of it. So what Mr. McNair hit on as far as emergency action plans is key to this process.
The Jordan McNair Foundation strongly urges the passing of Senate Bill 638 primarily to help improve player safety, which is also a part of the foundation's mission.
Athletic trainers have front row access to the excitement of sports. Unfortunately, we also bear witness to the tragedy of sports, the unnecessary and preventable death of a student athlete. It's an experience that no athletic trainer can fully prepare for and no parent should have to endure. Our organization's goal and my personal mission is to ensure that we legislate as much safety as possible. We have to take every step available to avoid the human error and the poor planning that can lead to the loss of life and disability.
And then you also have the Jordan McNair Act, which was already in play. We just added Jordan's name to that. That was any student athletes or college athletes in the state of Maryland. If you feel uncomfortable by any coaches, really you can call the 1-800 number anonymously, report your concerns without any type of retribution or, blowback or anything like that.
The culture plays a lot in these kids getting injured and not listening to their bodies.
One of Jordan's worst afflictions that day was that Jordan was a tremendous teammate. Jordan was not going to let his team down, and he was not going to stop. One of the big things he was going to keep fighting for was because he believed that if he stopped, he was going to let his team down. And he pushed himself to a point where, his body couldn't recover. And so understanding that it's not the sign of a bad teammate. It's not a sign of not respecting the guys around you if your body is not responding the way it's supposed to. There's that toxic masculinity involved where, you want to be the toughest, craziest guy on the field who doesn't have any types of issues in terms of mental health, whose body's in the best shape, who can fight through anything. You really want to be that. And in reality, that's not the truth. And when we all admit that's the truth, that's where real strength can come from. But if we live in that facade, if that's what we're supposed to be, that's when people get injured. That's when we have these types of issues.
The days of doing it, a player doing it because a coach told them to do it. It's no more taking a player where he can't take himself. It's more of a partnership, because these players are so much more educated. They have a ton of opinions on things. And I think as a parent and as a coach, the ability to listen and hear their thoughts, I think, is important. It doesn't mean that they get their way. It doesn't mean that, it's all about them. But I do think to be able to have a voice is really important in today's athlete, and that as a coach, you shouldn't try to squash the voice. Give them the ability to advocate for themselves and be able to communicate how they feel and what they feel.
When I was 21, 22 years old and faced such a difficult decision in life there, and it showed me that when you find something that you really believe in, or you have people that you really love and something horrific may happen to them, you find a way to make it right, and you find the courage and the strength to speak what you believe and to speak your truth into existence and make sure that change can happen. Before Jordan's passing, I had never even thought about a heat-related illness. I never thought about someone suffering a heat stroke at practice. Never crossed my mind as an issue. And now, since I'm hyper aware of it now, right? We're really involved in it. And I see the number of deaths that come out of it every year, out of a 100% preventable injury. And so being aware is the first step into resolving this issue. You know, they always talk about there's a mission gap, and the gap is that no student athletes die from heat-related illnesses every year, and we've yet to reach that. And so we must continue to fight for awareness, for legislation, and for education on this issue.
One of the main things I had to realize was, you know, vibrating at a low energy, being mad, being angry, that ain't gonna bring Jordan back. But we say we're an organization that says we want to diminish deaths and we want to promote awareness, education, and prevention of these things. How do we do it if we walk around angry? So our main focus is, how can we say we want another parent? We don't want another parent to feel the anguish of losing a child if we aren't out here promoting. I can't be angry and positive at the same time.
When they check in the
Man, I'm just glad, you know, it all plays the way it's supposed to play.
I'm honored to be
part of this. Yeah.
Just many more to come.
Stop for the tears. You know, hey, look, the tears will start flowing on this side for sure. Take care, for sure, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I feel like we've put some things in place here because of Jordan's death that will make this as a safer place as it possibly could be.
I think the University of Maryland made the changes that were necessary. You're absolutely right. You know, you brought the right people in, and it wasn't about wins and losses when you made the changes. It was like, how do we keep this family together? How do we keep this school together? How do we keep this program together?
People ask me all the time, well, how can you go to the games? How can you go to the campus? And my answer is always, Jordan's spirit is there. He loved Maryland, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
I was working an internship for Senator Cardin's office, and I'd gone to the office, and they always had the paper sitting there, and you know, there I was on the front of the paper. It was kind of crazy to me. And so it says, until we meet again, here's myself and then a bunch of the other pallbearers carrying Jordan's casket that day. They gave us gloves to wear as pallbearers. We put one in the casket with him, and then we took one with us as well. And so, you know, this is hanging right next to my bed. It's kind of something I see every day.
Senior year come around, and he's like, we played Gonzaga, and that was like the first game of the year. And it was a hot one. It was a real hot one. Like, it was hotter in the locker room than it was outside. And I remember that was my best game I ever played, and Jordan was in the huddle one time. He was like, bro, it's your time. Everybody get to the office now. And then coming into the year, I had offers, and he was the one that I was really most proud of.
He came in Hernwood in the 3rd grade, and was the biggest dude there. And initially when I first saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he can play basketball with me. Because I played basketball, I was like, he can play basketball with me for sure. He's gonna be great for my team, this, that, and forth. And like once I just got to meet him, and we instantly connected. We ended up going on this trip with them to like this cabin, I think it was like a cabin, and we stayed for like, I think it was maybe like a week or so. Yeah, we stayed for like a week, and I mean, it was just me and him and his family, like his cousins and stuff like that. We got to, to the cabin or whatever, and it was like a little basketball hoop outside, and I was like, I kept telling him, I was like, bro, we gonna go outside and play basketball. We're gonna go outside, and we went outside. And we just started, passing the ball back and forth, and like he didn't want to shoot it. I was like, "Bro, shoot the ball, shoot it." He ended up shooting the ball, and I just keep passing to him. He kept shooting, and he ended up we ended up going out there every day. Ever since that day, we just kept shooting. He started to like it. And, you know, by the end of the trip, I basically got him. He was like, yeah, like, I think I want to start playing.
And then it was a joke, like, when we was at elementary school, he was scared of people in costumes. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the biggest kid in the whole entire school running from the mascot in the assembly, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, stuff like that, like, you know, people obviously, like first sight, you like, oh, he's a huge kid. Like, then you talk to him, soft voice, soft personality, loving, like, very hard to even get angry. Like, he rarely got angry at anybody, like, you know, but he was just a great person.